Over the years that I've been selling t-shirts online, I see these same couple design mistakes made over and over again. In this video, I'm going to be sharing each one of these and show you how to avoid making these same mistakes in your designs. Now, if you guys have seen my videos before, we are going to get straight to the point. I'm going to keep all of the fluff out of this video, and we're going to keep it moving at a fast pace. All I ask is if you do enjoy this video, please just give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments. All right, guys, without further ado, let's get straight into this video. So the very first t-shirt design mistake that I see all the time is people create overly complex designs. Now, you wouldn't think it, but t-shirts sell based on emotion. This is something that not a lot of sellers realize, but once you've sold quite a few shirts, you start to see that the ones that sold the best were the most impactful shirts. This happens because the simple designs that are very impactful and relatable, they're easy to understand and they evoke that emotion faster. Now, the mistake that I see people making with their designs is they're putting way too much into that design. So it takes you a couple extra seconds to figure out what that design is about and really process that to get that emotion to arise. So I know that one's a little bit out there. You probably don't hear people talking about this a lot, but once you've sold a lot of shirts, you're going to start to see this correlation. So with that being said, to give you some real examples here, I'll put up some examples of very complex designs, the ones that I don't recommend making. And then I'll put up some examples of simple, impactful designs, and you should be able to tell the difference between both of these. Now, just a small note that I can add into here, speaking from personal experience, some of my best selling designs over the years, number one, number two best overall sales, have been the most simple designs. The key here is that they are just very relatable designs. They only take a split second to tell what that design is, and if the person relates to it, they're likely to buy it. So that being said, that brings us right into the second design mistake. What this one is having too many colors in your design. Now, this is something that I typically see from new print-on-demand sellers, and the reason being is they don't have a graphic design history. As you start to create more and more t-shirt designs, you're going to find out that more colors do not equal a better design. The problem that you run into here is that oftentimes these colors compete against each other, they start to wash each other out, or they clash with each other. So no matter how much graphic design experience you have, the key takeaway here to avoid making this mistake is knowing that keeping it simple, just having a few colors that all work well together is going to give you the best t-shirt designs. Moving right along, let's get into the third t-shirt design mistake, and this one is using copyrighted graphics. Now, this one is actually extremely important. So the way that this works with copyright and copyrighted graphics is that people or companies can own the rights to specific graphics. Now, I want to take you in the computer here just for a second so this all gets tied together. So coming over to the computer, this is Canva. I actually pay for a premium Canva membership. I use it for many other things. I don't primarily use it for print on demand, and the reason is all of these templates that you see on the left side, these are t-shirt design templates that you can use, but not all of these are copyright free. So if you come in here and you go to elements and you're looking for something like a car to put in here, this library of graphics, some people could own the rights to these, so you cannot use them to sell for a profit. If you were using them for a personal project where you're not making money, that is absolutely okay. But in print on demand, we are selling them as a business and we are making profit. So my recommendation for you is that if you're going to use a graphic design tool for print on demand, find one that is 100% copyright free. I will put a link to the graphic design tool that I use down in the description. It's 100% copyright free and you can use it for print on demand. All right, so that brings us right into the fourth t-shirt design mistake, and that is using trademarked phrases. This one, again, is going to be extremely important. As we talked about with copyright for the graphics, the actual phrases or what it says on your shirt, that can be trademarked by a person or a company. So this is going to come into effect in the actual design itself, so what that design says, but it's also going to come into effect in your title and your description of your print-on-demand listing. This conveniently is something that you can check in just a matter of a couple seconds before you use a certain phrase for your design. So let me switch you back over to the computer for another second here. I'm just going to take you straight into the tool that I use for this. This is called Merch Informer. If you come over to the left side and you go to trademarks, go to trademark alerts, you can type in as many phrases as you want, different t-shirt ideas, and you can search them all at once to make sure that nobody owns the rights to that specific phrase. So let me give you an example here. Okay, so as you can see, we've got our results just in a second here. I put in a couple phrases here, a couple different fishing phrases. I'd rather be fishing and fish whisperer. And then this template that we were just working with over here, I'm not old, I'm classic. We just checked that one as well. So from these results, you can see that you have a green check mark, meaning yes, you can use that phrase. It is not formally protected. Nobody owns the trademark to that on apparel. The same thing for I'd rather be fishing. But if you were to come up with the phrase fish whisperer, or you saw that somewhere else and you wanted to use it on your t-shirts, somebody owns the rights to that. It is fully protected. So if you put that on on your design, you put that in your title or your description, your listing can be taken down and you get a trademark strike on your account because somebody owns the rights to that specific phrase. Now, I really should say here, for those of you who don't have access to Merch Informer, it's a very good tool. I stand behind them. I've been using them for years. I will put a link to my personal 20% off coupon code down in the description below, and they also have a free trial that you can use. Okay, so moving right along, let's get into the fifth mistake that I keep seeing, and this is people ignoring target audience preferences. So essentially what this means is when you're going into print on demand, it is highly recommended that you create designs in multiple different niches. You don't have to stay within one specific niche. Now, with that being said, each of these different niches, they tend to have their own different fonts, their own different style, their own look to those designs that people prefer buying. So if you're just using a universal style and you're just putting that into every single niche that you use and not paying attention to what that niche or specific target audience prefers, your conversions on sales are going to be much lower than they could be. So the way to avoid making this mistake is to look into each niche that you're going into and get an idea of what style all of the best-selling designs are. So quickly, I'll switch you back over to the computer and show you a totally free way to do this very quickly. Just coming over to Amazon, this is the largest print-on-demand marketplace out there. This will give you a very good idea of how that niche looks for print-on-demand. And in this example, I've used Bigfoot t-shirts. That's going to be the niche that we'll use to look through. And in some of these niches, you're actually going to see how many of these have been purchased in the last month. This is going to give you a good idea of what styles people are currently buying. So looking at these to see which ones have sold a lot in the past month, see if you can recognize a certain style that is the same between all of them. So right off the bat here, there's not much of a style that they're all using. As you scroll through here, again, 100, 100, all the way across, 1,000 bought in the past month. If I can pull anything away from looking at these, I'm going to say that these are all kind of geared towards men. Now, not to say that women couldn't purchase these shirts, but they kind of have a distressed, textured look on these designs. I can see it in this one over here. I again can see it over here. It has that distressed look. Let's scroll down and see if we can find anything else. Again, I'm getting the distressed look in this one and even more in a couple more down here. So if I were going to look at this niche, the things that I would be taking away are that they have a distressed look and they're primarily geared towards men. So I would recommend spending a couple minutes to do that before you go into each niche. So as you are creating those designs, you know what style to give it. Okay, with that being said, let's get into the sixth mistake. This mistake is having a bad design placement on the actual t-shirt. So essentially when you are selling t-shirts, there are two different ways that you can print your designs. There are full torso prints. This is going to fill basically the entire rectangle of the shirt. And then there are chest-centric prints. These ones are going to be primarily in the chest area of the shirt. Now, a very common mistake that I see people making all the time is they create their designs, they upload them to the print-on-demand websites, and they upload a chest-centric design in the belly area of the shirt. This really is just a rookie mistake, and once you realize what's happening, you're going to correct all of your designs. You won't do it anymore. So to avoid this, just be aware of this issue, and when you are uploading your designs to the print-on-demand websites, use the scale feature and use the alignment tools to make sure that that design is in the proper printing area. All right, so that brings us right into the seventh design mistake, and this is Copycat Designs. This is something that I see happening all the time, and I typically see it from new print-on-demand sellers. So what happens here is when people just get into print-on-demand, they go and they sort for what designs are selling the absolute best, and then they go into that niche, creating a very similar design. So if you are using someone else's exact layout and you're not changing anything on it, you're creating it way too similar to theirs, that would be considered a copyright infringement. This is kind of referred to as informal copyrights as opposed to formally registered copyrights. But just know that copycat designs are strictly enforced on print-on-demand marketplaces. They even say them in their terms of service when you're signing up. Okay, so let's get right into the eighth design mistake, and this one is buying design packs. Now, I really caution you not to fall into the trap of buying copyright-free t-shirt design packs. Most of the time, these packs are not actually copyright-free, and you can still get in trouble by uploading these designs onto print-on-demand platforms. Now, you can find these packs sold on a bunch of different websites. Most commonly is probably going to be Etsy, and the way that these packs are pitched to you, as you pay a couple dollars for the pack, you're going to get a digital download of a bunch of pre-made, ready-to-use copyright-free t-shirt design templates. Now, the mistake that people make when purchasing these is that they upload them to the print-on-demand marketplaces as is. Now, assuming everything is copyright-free and you really can use everything in that design, if someone has bought that same design pack before you and they've uploaded that same design to that print-on-demand marketplace before you did, yours will be taken down as a duplicate upload. You've uploaded the exact same design as someone else. So if you are going to purchase a design pack, or if you're going to use a graphic design tool that has t-shirt templates, just be sure that you are always customizing the t-shirt designs. Now, what what I mean by customize is changing the fonts, changing the colors, changing the graphic, putting your own spin on it and making it your own so it's not identical to another t-shirt design on the platform. Okay, so hopefully we're on the same page about that one. Let's now get into the 9th design mistake. This one is using artificial intelligence to create your designs. Now, this is going to be a very controversial one because artificial intelligence tools have gotten extremely good at creating t-shirt designs. Now, the reason that I caution you and I say that this is a big mistake is because artificial intelligence generated designs are starting to run into copyright issues. Because artificial intelligence is using information from the internet to create your design, it's not always going to be 100% copyright free. As you start to look into this one and you start talking to people who have used AI designs for their print-on-demand business, you're going to see more stories popping up about design takedowns for AI generated designs. Again, since we are using these designs to make a profit, you have to be very careful with copyright laws. So all in all, AI is changing at such a fast pace. All I recommend here is to proceed with caution, especially when you're talking about using AI for t-shirt designs. Okay, and just like that, we're on to the 10th mistake. And what this mistake is only making one design. So to give you a perfect example of this one, say that you find the absolute best niche that has no competitors yet. You've created an awesome design, but you only made one of them. What's very likely to happen is a buyer is going to come into that niche. They're going to see your design, but they're not going to relate to that certain phrase or the colors or the design or the layout that you made, and they're not going to purchase that design. Even though there's no competition and you made an excellent design, if you've only created one of them, you're going to be missing out on so many buyers. So no matter what niche you are going into, I always recommend trying to create 20 to 40 totally different designs in that niche. This means that when someone comes into that niche, no matter which design they relate to and they end up purchasing, hopefully it's going to be one of yours. Now, if you're just now getting into print on demand and you want to see my entire process of how I do print on demand, start to finish, everything laid out step by step, I made a full tutorial for print on demand, totally free here on YouTube. I will put a link to it down in the description. So guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please just give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, I'll be seeing you guys all in the next video.